Okay, good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation to come here to speak in Penang. It's an honor, so thank you to Marina, ZafigoX, and everybody who's involved in the organization. And, okay, we're over here, and I'm here. Okay, so I come from Cork, Ireland, and I'm a teacher, trainer, language teacher in the university that I work in Cork, in Ireland. Here's a little picture of my hometown. And in my free time, I do a lot of photography. And I was fortunate enough this year to win Photographer of the Year in the International iPhone Photography Awards. Thank you very much. Okay. So in coming here, I was thinking a lot about travel, and one of my favorite travel quotes is from Benjamin Disraeli, and I think it applies very much to photography also, that like all great travelers, I've seen more than I remember, and I remember more than I have seen. And I think it ties very, very much into photography also, because a lot of our memories that we have come through the trigger, the springboard of photography. Okay. Okay, so in preparing the talk, I was thinking about why do we travel? What is it about travel that we like to do? Why does it appeal to us? And I was thinking that for me, what I like about it is that it allows me to learn, to explore, to understand myself, understand the world I live in, and very, very much for adventure. Okay, life without adventure it would be boring. So it brings me to this photograph here. And this photograph is probably my favorite photograph from mobile photography. And the reason why is that when I got this photograph, where do you think I was? On the tarmac. Where do you think my real camera was? It was checked in my luggage. But I had the iPhone, which to me is the greatest camera ever. And hopefully by the end of the talk you'll agree with me. So this photograph I like a lot because it shows my beliefs about photography and about composition and how this is a great advantage in composing photographs. Similarly, so why do we travel? And when we travel, why do we make photographs? So again, I was thinking about it, when I'm here, for example, in Penang, and I'm on the streets, what am I trying to achieve? What am I trying to do? And I think it's the following. I'm trying to create. I think that life without creation, without artistic pursuit, is, in my own personal experience, would be meaningless. To create connections, and I think that this device here allows me to meet people, engage, to learn, to make connections. Very, very importantly, to create memories. And I think that's what we try to do when we travel, is to build up a store of memories that will live with us for a long time, that we can reflect on as we get older. And very importantly, to say that I was here, this is what I saw, this is how I saw it, and this is what it felt like. Okay? So the two things, I think, go hand in hand with travel and photography. Is this the best camera ever? Definitely. Okay? Definitely, without a doubt. And the reason why it's the best camera ever is that it's fantastic for travel. Okay? Because when you're out and you have this device that everybody has, that they don't know if it is a camera or not a camera, so it allows you to get into situations, to get photographs that otherwise might be very difficult with a big, heavy DSLR. So a lot of the photographs that I'll show you as we go through will show you how this is such a great camera to work with. It's very small, it's discreet, very fast. What you see is what you get, and it's very accurate. You get immediate feedback. It encourages creativity, and very importantly, it's fun. Okay? And pursuits like travel, photography should be fun. So why is it the greatest camera ever? Because I went from a situation of having real cameras in my drawer in my locker at home, gathering dust, only taking them out on special occasions, maybe if I travel or if there's a family occasion, really taking photographs maybe 5-6 times a year, to a situation where I've been constantly taking photographs. So you see here, 2016, 2017, On my phone, I have about 15,000 photographs. Okay? And what this resulted in is that I went from a situation to observing scenes and thinking to myself, wow, that would make a great photograph. Have you experienced that? Yeah? You don't have a camera with you, what do? You continue. But from having the iPhone with me, it allowed me to get that shot, and it resulted in me thinking and seeing photographically. And when you begin to think and see photographically, you evolve as a photographer. Now, when people talk about the iPhone, they say, it's not a real camera, not a real camera, it's not real photography. It is. This is an example of a camera not being mobile, but cameras have always been mobile. This is an example of a camera that isn't, security camera. Now, when I came to Asia, people were saying excited about the food, but I was saying to them, like, have you seen what they cook on? They don't use a real stove. Yeah? Okay? And they eat with chopsticks. Why don't they use a knife and fork? But the reality is that what you're trying to achieve is to make sure this doesn't happen. So it doesn't matter what you cook on, what you eat with, the result is going to be the same. And it's very much similar with photography. Photography is about photographs, not about cameras. Now, in preparing the talk, I went back and thought about that I've been shooting with the iPhone for 5 years. And in those 5 years, I visited 26 countries. And I was really surprised to learn this, that in the past 5 years, 26 countries. So in preparing the talk, I thought it might be a good idea to bring you on a little world tour and give you some information and background information about the process I go with the photographs. So beginning in the Iceland and moving east and finishing up here in Penang. So this is a photograph I took in January of this year in Iceland. And again, it shows that, photography is about composition, it's about light, it's about moment, and very, very, very much about memories. So each of these photographs I'm showing you, I'm able to reconnect with how I felt at that time, where I was, the experiences, the emotions. What is great about the iPhone is that because it has limitations, and when there's limitations in life, it forces creativity and it forces you to improve. And one of the limitations it has is that it has a fixed lens that you can't zoom. Well, you should not zoom. Okay? So because I cannot zoom, I'm very careful about my composition. So in these photographs here I'm showing you, I would spend a considerable bit of time making sure I'm getting what I want in the frame for the picture. This here, any of you been to Iceland? Okay, this is the famous Blue Lagoon. And that when I went into the Blue Lagoon, I didn't bring my big DSLR, but I had my iPhone. And again, it brought me into situations where I could get photographs that otherwise perhaps not. This is Ireland. And this is that we were on a family Sunday drive. I didn't intend to take photographs. Landscape photography isn't my thing, but I had the camera with me. So by having the camera with me, I was more alert to photographic opportunities. Another photograph from Ireland, and if you see in the top, the center right, there's a little human element, and very often I try to get human elements into photographs. Ireland is a very small island with beautiful beaches, very bad weather. Okay, moving across the water to our neighbors, to London. For me, one of the things that I've evolved within as a photographer is that in my real life, I'm very, very impatient, but in photography, I've learned to slow down. And for this photograph here, I took about maybe 15 minutes to get the photograph, and a lot of the photographs that I'm showing you are good fortune, that I was lucky for this man to walk into the scene. Similarly here, again with the composition, I'm careful about what I'm trying to achieve, and with the iPhone, it's very easy to create good compositions because you're able to adjust the camera. And very importantly, what you can do also is that as you're looking at the screen, your peripheral vision is taking in the context, what's happening around it. Whereas very often with a DSLR, you have it up to your eye and one eye closed. Another photograph from London. And again, this photograph is about waiting. patience. That as I've evolved as a photographer, very often I'm able to imagine what the photograph is, and I need to, wait to get the scene. Similarly, other photographs from London, shadows, reflections. Moving on to Denmark. Okay, so sometimes I'm just like trying to create little memories of photographs that I can show to my family when I get home, and then leading to this photograph here. This photograph here changed my life. The reason it changed my life is that in 2015, Apple contacted me to license this photograph and to be part of its Shot an iPhone 6 campaign, and it went worldwide in 72 cities on huge, big billboards, which you can see here in Milan. So I visited it in Italy. I also got to see it in Tokyo. So it was a great opportunity for me to evolve as a photographer, continue to travel, and to make connections like I'm doing here today. This is a photograph from Germany in a hotel room. And the last thing I do at night and the first thing I do in the morning is check the phone. And when I woke up in the morning, I had checked the phone, opened the blinds, and this scene was here in front of me, able to get it with the iPhone. This is a photograph from Barcelona. I was in a cable car, had the DSLR around my neck. Cable car was crowded, wasn't able to get the photograph, but I could get the phone up to shoot. Again, this is a photograph that I probably would never have taken before because I would have had the camera checked into luggage, but I'm in the airport shooting from a low perspective to get an idea of the environment in the airport. Moving on to Cyprus. That with the iPhone 7 Plus, things changed for me. Each iteration of the iPhone improves. And with this one, it has the portrait mode. And I went from a situation of taking candid photographs to now going and talking to people, getting to know about them, and to make photographs of them as using the phone. And it really has improved my travel experience. Slovakia, fun photograph, people shooting with iPads, iPhones. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. On to Portugal. Again, these would have been photographs that I would have taken on my travels. I shoot with 3 different cameras, but the one that I enjoy most is the iPhone. Vienna in Austria. This is Belvedere Museum, using a little wide-angle lens that I clip onto the phone for this one. Again, patience that I came across the scene and wanted to wait for the human element to come in. And I was fortunate that this woman came down the stairs as I had the shot composed. Very often with photography, we have a horizontal perspective, but sometimes you need to look up, and you can see that there are beautiful things up there as well. So with this street lamp, very simple composition, and to have the plane coming into it. Last year I traveled in India, and it was a fantastic experience for me I was in the Himalayas, also in street scenes. This is a photograph taken in a taxi in Mumbai. And again, it just shows that because I had the camera with me, I was thinking photographically and looking for shots that before probably would just ignore. So just simple compositions from India. And again, here with this photograph, to get this photograph, I probably took 6 or 7 and eventually engaged with the guy on the right to get the eye contact. So it gives you a taste of photographs from India. And then moving to Tokyo. Tokyo is my favorite place in the world to shoot. This photograph here was taken at night, and people say that you can't use the iPhone to shoot at night. You can, and it has very good results. In the workshop yesterday, I demonstrated how to expose for night photography. What you do is just, when you're using your screen, the little yellow box that appears, tap on the brightest part of the screen in the night, and you'll get a good exposure for it. This photograph won about 5 different international competitions, some for mobile photography and some not. So other images from Tokyo. Here with this one, with cityscapes, I think putting a human element into it can add a storytelling aspect and give a different perspective. A lot of the photography that I do would be artistic, fine art photography with intentional camera movements. So to achieve this, I violently moved the camera as commuters were passing by. It's a scene with a Tokyo shrine. And one of the other things that is great with the iPhone, that it's not all just photography. You can also use it for video. This is a video that I shot from the Cerulean Hotel in Tokyo, a time-lapse video. And what I would ask you to do with photography is always to examine your borders. Okay. Okay, so to achieve this, I didn't use a tripod. I just positioned the camera next to an ashtray, and I secured it, and I left it film for, I think, maybe about 20 or 30 minutes. And the quality is quite good, as you can see. So moving on to Korea, some photographs from Korea. Again, with a night photograph, you see here that to get this image was quite difficult and required a lot of work with the exposure values to ensure that the taxi driver is vivid in the frame. More photographs of portraits that I've been shooting over the past 5 weeks that I've been traveling. Bangkok, travel photographs, again with the composure. It's easy to set up the composition with the iPhone. This one here was in the Bangkok train station, and when I was getting this photograph, that I used a very simple technique, okay, which is called burst mode. And if you listen, what you do is that you just keep your finger on the shutter, and it takes multiple frames. So I just shot the cleaner walking through the silhouette, and then later was able to choose the wood that fit the scene best. This photograph you may have seen in the promotion for the event today, that when I'm trying to get portraits, what is very, very important is to get a clean background behind your main subject's frame. So with this lady here, I was trying to move her to the black background. Not the easiest thing to do, and then at the same time I was noticing my reflection, and I had to recompose to get myself into the reflection. From Singapore, again, more photographs that I was choosing, engaging with people, stopping them in the street, getting to know them, learning about them, learning about their culture. This guy here, a 90-year-old man in Singapore who swings beads around his neck every day. Not sure why he does, but it's the key, the secret to a long life, I imagine. Shanghai. Okay, now this photograph here, the composition, I took quite a bit of time with it, but what I was trying to achieve is that each individual figure is visible, that they're not overlapping. And again, I use burst mode for that. Hong Kong, classic, iconic, cliche Hong Kong taxis and the scene working through. If you look at the end of the scene, you have the blue sky, and to achieve that, very simply what you need to do is that there's a thing called HDR on your phone, which is high dynamic range, and using that, you will have 3 exposures, and it will result in the blues, the greens, and the reds all having good values. Reflections, I like to do reflection shots a lot, so this is a photograph I shot on Saturday in Hong Kong, in front of a bus driver. I like it because they're complex, they're distortion. This photograph here was the one that won the award for me as iPhone Photographer of the Year. It was shot in Jakarta, Indonesia last year, and it's a series of photographs that I shot of workers who are taking a break on the docks. So you can see the other ones here. So it really shows the level of detail that you can get with the iPhone. Just with a little bit of post-processing to achieve the clarity in that. This is in Bali. I was in Bali last week. And with this one, again, I'm just trying to get the silhouette, so standing behind the character and pushing them towards the sun to block them gives you the silhouette. Again, engaging with the local people. This is a guy who was covering himself in sand. I was talking to him and his family. This is a guy I liked his tattoos and that he was interesting, from Croatia. This is a photograph from Taipei in Taiwan. That what has happened to me, that when I've been traveling, I've become braver. And that one night when I was going back to my hotel, I passed this apartment block and I saw that the security guard was asleep. And I stopped and thought, will I get the photograph? Will I do it? Will I go back? And I forced myself to go back and go in and click. The title I gave the photograph is Things I Didn't Tell Them in the Job Interview. The next night I was walking past the apartment block and I saw the security guard. This time he was awake. I looked in, and he didn't give me a very friendly look. So very quickly to run through some photographs from Kuala Lumpur, okay, which I really enjoyed, love the colors there. And moving on to Penang, which has been an absolute treat for me. That it's been a great experience to get out in the streets, meet the people, see all the colorful artwork, 2 security guards here. And I think the thing about photography, coming back to what we're talking about, memories and travel and what we try to do, when my little girl was about 2 years old, 3 years old, she would sit in the back of the car when you're driving, and like all little children, she would ask lots and lots of questions. And one of the questions that she asked me was, "Where do yesterdays go, Daddy?" Now, I said, I don't know. Where do yesterdays go? Do you know? She says, I do. I know where yesterdays go. And her answer has lived with me, and I've treasured it ever since. Into photographs. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful idea. Those are my 2 little kids, about 5 or 6 years ago. And I think that when you're traveling and when you're taking photographs, what you're trying to do are create memories that you can connect with as you get older, and that you can share, and that you can relate the stories with it. So that brings me to the end. So I will say thank you very much. Thank you, Marina. It has been a pleasure to be here. Okay.